YouGoin'Pro, world #1 podcast. We help athletes develop proficiency, assisting their passion for the game they love. Today's episode is going to be a very special episode like never before. We're going to have an episode with one of the minor league journeyman pitcher. He pitched in several places, had several opportunities, also had an opportunity to play in the NAIA World Series. Now, wow, this guy has been in the United States, and he's in a world by himself. He has a very special, exclusive resume, and he pitched in the NAIA World Series. The very own Mark Semien. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. How are you, Coach?
I'm
Appreciate
doing
you.
very well, man. I'm so glad. You know, you got a long resume, and I didn't want to butcher it and chop it up. You played for New Mexico JUCO. I didn't even know there was a JUCO in Mexico.
Brother, you're telling
New
me.
Mexico.
Right,
Correct
right.
it.
You're telling me.
I'm like, a New Mexico, a JUCO.
Right.
They got, I mean, and then by the way, I'm throwing this out there. First team all conference, and then you went to Oklahoma City University, which I didn't know was Oklahoma City University. I do know this.
Powerhouse NAI.
Yeah, and so then after that, you know, you went and played. I can't even pronounce the name of the place, so I'll let you.
I played in Aguascalientes. It's about 3 hours west of Mexico City.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
So you are a Latino for sure.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
on
sir.
top of that, you bounced around. You're here in the United States, and you're in a state that I never thought there's baseball, which there is very little, but it's a very little, and it's in Montana. But I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about that, and then you bounced around with the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit, doing a little bit there, and the Milwaukee Milkmen. So let's break down this. We're gonna get right into it. Let's talk.
Where do you want to start, man?
Let's see. So that's why I'm telling people, you know, what you listen to YouGoin'Pro podcast. Now you understand why I didn't want to say everything, because it's just so much. I mean, I didn't want to miss anything. So let's just talk about New Mexico JUCO. How did that happen? How did that come about?
Man, so I didn't understand the college baseball realm. You know what I mean? So I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't really play in high school till about my senior year. I was literally one of the only senior pitchers. And being as a pitcher only, bro, you know, I'm like, well, throw them out there, see what can happen. And, you know, thank God, you know, my first 6 outings, I was like 6-0, dude, just unhittable against a really good district in Houston. And so I got some school opportunities. I originally signed with Wharton County Junior College down in Wharton, Texas.
Wow.
And I felt after the year that I had, you know, I felt like I deserved and kind of needed more money to help, facilitate baseball, going away from home and all that. So my head coach, Carl McCloskey, ended up having a relationship somehow with New Mexico Junior College head coach Josh Simpson, and one thing led to another, and I think I signed like a week or two before the actual fall semester started.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah, man.
I mean, New Mexico. And where are you originally from?
I'm from Houston.
Okay, Houston,
Yeah.
Texas. Okay, that's good.
Yes, sir.
And then from that point, let's talk about this. When you first went to JUCO, was it one of those things that it came out, it happened easy, or was it a hard thing when you went to JUCO? Because a lot of times, I know, like, I coach high school baseball right now, and I know JUCO is a big thing in certain states, put it that way.
Right.
And here in Florida, where I'm at, I know JUCO is like cream of the crop. That's like a lower class
Right.
in a Division One.
Division One, yeah.
So help the listeners listen to the YouGoin'Pro. Give me step one. If you had to start over, Mark had to start all over today in 2024. What would be the first thing you'll give a nugget to the new people that are trying to get to JUCO? What's the first step, would you say? From your experience.
Probably just make sure you're in love with the work. Make sure you're in love with the grind. If this is actually something you really want to do, please make sure you have full intent every day and do it to the best of your ability every single day.
Every single day. There's no breaks.
You know, even if it's 1% better than yesterday, we're moving in a good direction.
Well, that's good, because I have I got a YouTube channel, and that's something I'm going to talk about later tonight. Is basically what you just talked about. You said that was very powerful. Let me ask you another question. Being a JUCO guy, just start all over. Let's say Mark Semien start all over, And what be the step? What's step two in JUCO to make it successful? Because it's only 2 years. It's only a two
Right,
year. So how do you prepare for that, Mark? If you're a 2 year guy coming from, okay, you're in Houston, and just
right.
say you're going to New Mexico. How do you prepare mentally the guys that are going there now, their first time away from home? How do you, besides the grind, what else would you say?
Connections. I think being learning how to be interpersonal with people, bro, has definitely moved my life in a really good direction. Just being open-minded with everybody and being able to, just receive people how they are that day.
Okay,
You got to
okay,
realize like baseball's such an up and down sport that, you have to be understanding as far as like what kind of day that guy's having. If it's good, uh, celebrate the little wins.
right,
I think
right,
that's important. So I think
man.
that, man,
Wow.
if I can teach little Mark, bro, I think those would be the top two of just working
Okay.
hard and making sure you're a good person, bro.
Okay, so let's talk. Let's rewind. Let's go back to Little Mark. I love that. Little Mark. So Little Mark is in high school. Little Mark is in high
Okay.
school right now,
Okay.
and he hasn't had any offers. He hasn't had anything going for him. And this is part of my question, but I want to break
Right.
it down so the listeners. So you got a high schooler, it's a senior. He went to travel baseball. He's not getting seen. He's not getting the looks he thinks he deserves. So the little Mark. So you said some two powerful things. Let's give me one more nugget. Just say little Mark doesn't have an opportunity.
Hmm.
And what do you feel about guys trying to walk on? Now this is not, we're talking about 2024. We're not talking
Right.
about
Right.
back in 15, 16.
2013. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
talking about that. We ain't 90,
Right.
90s. We're not talking about that. How do you prepare a guy like that preparing for the little Mark that had no opportunities? How do you prepare?
Man, I think so there was a good like quote that I reposted on Instagram. It was like a patient man is quiet because he knows it's coming. Like I said, I was a late bloomer, didn't play much in high school. So understanding the work that you're putting in
Hmm.
and knowing that you're fulfilling yourself that day, in the end, when it's again, we're talking 2013 compared to
Right.
2024. There's not
Four.
so much social media of like,
Right. Right.
I'm about
Right.
to ball out this weekend. I'm about to, blah, blah, blah. I'm about to strike guys out. Whereas it's more speaking with my actions rather than, just
Okay.
kind of letting people know like, hey, you're about to get it. Like, well, just wait,
Okay. Right.
just wait.
So how would you tell?
So,
What would you tell? What would you tell little Mark being away from home? How do you adapt high school Mark going to JUCO, going to New Mexico City? How do you adapt to that with no friends, nobody? A
right.
new student athlete, new city, new coach, doesn't know
Hmm.
anyone? How do you prepare for the guy coming in now? What else would you tell him?
Be confident, man. Don't be afraid to ask dumb questions. I think the dumb questions are the ones that aren't asked, obviously, so I think no matter how stupid it may ask, there is a answer at the end of it,
Right.
and there could be something that I learned from somebody else. And I think when I went into New Mexico, it was kind of riding that high from my senior year and then knowing I'm capable of this, like I can
Hmm.
compete with some of the best. Now let's go put it into work, let's go
Right.
practice
Right.
that. So
Would you
I just
say?
needed an extra push and stuff like that.
Would
So
you say that little Mark that had that confidence just had the dog in him? Because
man, you
being
know what, bro?
because I'm telling you, Mark, seriously, the kids now don't have the dog. They
Right,
have the bling, but they don't have the bite.
right,
They don't
right,
have it. They have a
right.
lot of bark, but they don't have the bite. So I mean, I'm gonna leave that up to you. You break that one down for me because that's
Well,
that's
bro, no, and I get it because I think I connect very well with junior college guys because they understand, they don't have the multi-million dollar facilities. They don't have the sufficient coaching so they can be one-on-one for, a good amount of time. Make sure you're
correct.
soaking in information, man. Like the best teacher we have is ourselves. So like at the end of the day, man, like you're going to know what makes you successful. I think being a dog, understanding you don't have to always rely on somebody to pick you up. Like
Hmm.
you have to kind of go a little deep to figure out, again, like I said, is this something you want to do? And if it is, bro, something inside of you is going to come out to really like
Right.
show you you're fully capable of this.
I like
So
that answer. That's extremely good answer, man. I mean, because you've been around, and I had to put you on the show. I've never really interviewed a student I'm sorry, an athlete that's
We're all
playing.
students, brother.
Yeah, we're all students to life because
Right,
always
right,
you
right.
learn something new every day. We learn
Of
something new
course.
every day. But let's talk now. Let's go to the next step. So when you got that next offer, Oklahoma City, how did that transition going from JUCO to
So
Oklahoma City University?
so completely, vulnerable. I just flat out didn't go to school. I originally, I say school, I meant class. I originally signed a full contract to Texas Tech University after my first year of junior college. The laziness and kind of again riding the high from the previous years, knowing I'm fully immersed and capable of this baseball thing kind of took me out of the classroom. And I think that's I feel like I am that direction a lot of guys need because it's somebody they can touch, they can, relate to and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, unfortunately, I, had to suffer the consequences. But my next step again was like, all right, what's the next best thing?
Right,
Who's the
right.
next best NAIA team? Like,
Hmm.
um, and for me, Oklahoma City was a big choice. I had a buddy that was over there who spoke highly, and they had made playoffs the year before, and just who Denny Krayball, rest in peace. He is the winningest college baseball coach in history. So,
Mm.
who wouldn't want to play for a man like that? So it was a no brainer, and it was half a day's drive to Oklahoma City. So it was close enough for my family, but far away from enough for me.
Right. So they couldn't come every day and see you. You
Right.
could,
Check up
you
on me every day, making
could
sure I'm going to class.
so you had a little privacy. So what would you say you learned from that situation? You just said you signed a letter of intent to go to Texas Tech. What would you say to people, young men like yourself, the old Mark? How would you
Mhm.
train or help guys now that had that situation? What would you tell them, you know, going from one situation to another situation thinking it's worse, but it wound up being
Right.
a blessing? What would you say
Right.
about that?
I just think I mean, we make exactly what our paths is supposed to be. I'm a big believer in faith as far as this is what God wants me to do. This is what God has planned for me. But sometimes you got to be real with yourself and understand that these are situations you can control, and I didn't. So, I
Right,
just really
right,
wanted to make right with myself and
right.
just make sure I was gonna do what I can for the next team and the next group of guys I
Right.
was gonna be
And,
teammates
and
with.
and the one thing you didn't say, I'm going to say it for you. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, exactly, man.
You learn from it because I mean, me myself, I played ball a little bit before you did, and I had went to like four schools. So I mean, I tried everything. The problem was
Yeah,
for
man.
me was that it wasn't the classroom. It's just I thought I was better than the game itself. I just thought I was it.
Right.
So
I hear you.
when you play this mind game with yourself, and you come from a school that you did, I didn't even play high school baseball, so I pretty
Oof,
much I walked on. So
that's
I
dog.
walked on. I mean, I'm a really dog. I said, listen, I'm gonna make this team. And so I bounced around from Coffeyville Community College in Kansas.
Yep.
Then from that school, I went to Paris Junior College.
I know
And
where that's
then
at.
and then from Paris Junior College, I said, I don't like it here. I didn't like, so I went back to Coffeyville, and then after that, they said, well, you can't play. Your eligibility, you're gonna have to sit out a year.
Right.
You can't keep bouncing. And I'm like, okay, so I had to sit out a whole year and work. That whole year was like, but I put myself in that situation,
Right.
trying to be my own agent instead of saying, okay, be patient, like you said, just be patient. The game will
Right.
come to you, and if it's meant to be, it will be. So then
Right.
from that point, what I did after that was I just trained like a
Yeah,
dog
man.
trying to get a bone. And I just ran, hit, throw every single day. And I worked. So then I put myself in a situation and I went to go try out for a Cincinnati Reds and Boston Red Sox. I tried out at a open camp. They had an open camp.
See, they don't do those anymore.
They don't
Or
do them
like even
anymore.
in college, bro. Like,
See,
come on.
so they used to do that when I was playing. So that's
That's what
before
they
that was
need,
before
man.
PG and all this other stuff.
Yep.
I didn't have to worry
Yep.
about that. You just had you everybody come to this major league tryout, and it was like
Right.
free agents just come out and try out. When I tried out, man, and I ran a 6.460, and I was flying. I was
Hold
flying.
up. Hold up.
I was flying. I was like, man, I gotta make this. I gotta make this. So they make a long story short. A scout seen me, and he said, "Okay, son, where you playing ball?" I said, "I ain't playing. This is why I'm here. I want to play."
Right.
And he put me at another school called Hiwassee College in Tennessee. I
Okay.
went out there and got a full scholarship, and I just balled. And from that
Oh,
day
dude,
on,
that's awesome.
I ain't going nowhere. I'm learning my mistake, and I set my
I'm
butt
right.
there. And that's just something that I've learned from the younger coach back in the day. Like you said, don't rush the process. Don't rush the
Hmm.
process. And also something that we need to talk about is coaching, because everybody coaches different. The game is the
Yeah.
same, but
Right.
coaching methods are different. But
Easily.
the one thing I know as a coach, we want to win.
Hmm.
Period. We want to win.
Hmm.
But the key is, as a player versus a coach, is totally different.
Two different things. Right.
It's totally different. Now I'm like,
Right.
man, now I understand why my coach didn't let me hit as much against a
Right.
lefty, against a lefty. I understand that now. I understand why he didn't put me in situations. And then I'm like, man, what's wrong with this coach? I was 5 for 5 yesterday. He got benching me the next day. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm scratching my head like, man, what's really going on? I thought I did something wrong. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes as a coach, it wasn't the best position for us to succeed as a team.
See, yeah, right. Exactly.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, so with that being said, brings us to the next question. What was it like playing in the NAIA World Series?
Unreal, honestly. It was it's in Lewiston, Idaho. For those that don't know, it's in Idaho, kind of literally middle of nowhere. But in Lewiston, Idaho is Lewis and Clark University. And
Right.
at the time, I mean, last I heard, it was like they were in 17 World Series appearances in like the last 20 years. Like if they finish above 500, they're guaranteed to get in. And I was like, man, this is kind of different.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up getting the game, pitching against them. And dude, there was probably like 5 to 7 thousand, and that was my first time ever pitching in front of that many people. I over prepared. I did everything I thought I needed to
Wait,
do, and
Mark, you said how many people were there?
dude, there was like 5 to 7. There's so many people there. So many people,
So what was going through
bro.
your head? What was going through your head?
I was hyped. I was ready, bro. Like I mean, that's the shit that you. I'm sorry. That's the stuff you kind of want to like play for in front of, you know. And again, it's just those situations where I'm like, dude, I over prepared. I did everything I thought I needed to do to be successful instead of just going
Mm,
out there and just doing you. And I think I
mm,
cut my outing short. It was like 4 or 5 innings. I think 6 runs or something like that. But
okay.
yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Okay.
So that was a tough pill to swallow.
So now you gave me another question. I'm not even looking at my question. Now you just brought
Yeah,
up
what's up?
something. So, okay. So how do you over prepare? Let's talk about that. For the people just tuning into our show, this is the You Going Pro podcast, the number one podcast that helps athletes develop proficiency, helping them in their passion for the game they love. I'm your host, Coach-Lowery, and I got Mark Simeon, the journeyman of minor league baseball. Mark, I gotta ask you this question. So how do you over prepare as an athlete, a pitcher, or player?
Personally, yeah, personally speaking, man, I thought I needed to show up an extra maybe hour early to like just put some music in, be quiet, take myself from the actual element I was in, and
Okay.
just kind of be a quiet guy, I should say, just kind of extra focus. But that wasn't me. Like for those that know me, they know, I like to have fun. I crack jokes, I'm always
Right.
smiling. Then when it's time for me to just be like, yo, Simon, get hot. Okay, I have the ability to kind of flip the switch and let's get rolling. So I think
Okay.
if I would have just rolled up and did my thing, man, it would have been a whole different situation. But you just never know. Sometimes you
Okay.
got to go through trial and error to really figure out what
Right.
kind of baller you are.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And you said, like you said, I mean, very own Mark said it himself. You sometimes you have to go through it to understand it, because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't know who we really are until we go through it.
Right.
You got to go through it. And because I know there's many moments that me as a coach, and I'm speaking from a coach, we can beat a team. We can collaborate one game, and then
Hmm.
the next game we lose 16-2. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what happened? Like,
Right.
what's going on here? And I'm like, what? It's like a
The
Titanic took
controller
over.
just yeah, the controller disconnected.
I'm like, wait a minute. So, because I can recall coaching a game last year. Literally last year, we beat this team that beat us. I mean, they were conference champions, and they
Okay.
went to district. They won our district. So anyway, make a long story short, I mean, they're full of Latinos. Them boys can play, straight
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
I mean, they can ball.
Butter.
And I'm in Florida, so you got to think these boys can play. But me, I'm the dog. I'm the dog of the whole team. I'm like, I'm the
Right.
top dog. I'm like, listen, we gonna win. I don't care what we gotta do. We gonna
What we
win.
got to do? We're
We
gonna
gonna get
win
it done.
somehow.
We
Right.
gonna win. We pulled it off, man. So they walking around, hey man, we just beat this team and da 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 da. And then the second game, they came like 3 weeks later to play us at our
Uh-huh.
field, beat the snot out of us. I mean, they beat
That's
the
crazy.
snot. I mean,
Oh,
it's like they stole something. They beat us, slapped us, and then put us in our place at the same time. I was like,
shit.
this was unbelievable. Listen, let me tell you what I did, Mark. I know this ain't part of the show, but I gotta share this
No,
with
no,
you.
that's fine.
It's like, wait a minute. I was so quiet. I was so when a coach gets, I'm very emotional.
Right.
I get pumped with them. I'm in their face talking to. I'm like a football coach without the cursing. I'm a
Right.
football coach without the cursing. Listen, we got to do
Okay.
it this way and only this way. Trust me. So anyway, I told the parents. I said, listen, we're gonna have practice after the game. Their eyes like this, Mark. What?
Like, oh my God, what do you mean?
So
What do you mean?
yeah, exactly. Like that's what they like. What do you mean, coach? So anyway, make a long story short, I said, everybody, drop your gloves. Just drop your gloves. I
Start
said,
running.
oh Lord, Coach-Lowery is hot. He ain't
Right.
talking. He ain't smiling. He don't look at him. Don't ask him no question. Don't give him no dap.
Just
Everybody
start
line up.
running.
So line up. We line up. I went on. I went off. I said, y'all, you can quit. You ain't gonna quit. Because if you quit, I'm
Right.
quitting. We all gonna quit. We're a family. We doing this together. So it brought camaraderie for us. It
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
did. From that game, that's what I'm saying. Back to adversity. Adversity kind of brought us closer together due to the fact that at the end of the day, we didn't know who we were until we got defeated.
Right.
So
Right.
that
Then you
best
got to
base,
figure out what kind of guy you are.
yeah.
You
And
gonna
then I was
stay
like,
down or get
right,
up?
because I knew who I was, but they didn't know who
Right.
I was. They knew. They're like, oh Jesus,
Yeah, we're not gonna
Coach.
get smacked around here like that.
Not like that again. Listen,
No
we got
chance.
we got beat, but not like, man. It was at home. It was at home.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
embarrassing. I was like
That's
scratching.
tough.
I was like, I just like this on third base, like this, just sitting and saying a word.
Ain't no
And I said,
signs. No signs given.
no signs. There was no signs. It's like Coach-Lowery is hot.
He's
So
lit.
I'm lit. So that's to my next question. So how do you tell little Mark how to deal with new coaches now, making that transfer from okay, JUCO to NAIA World Series? Now remember, the little Mark had also the letter intent for Texas Tech.
Hmm.
On top of that, now he guess what? Now guess what? He got the opportunity to play a little pro ball. How do you make those transitional mental thoughts? How to convert to a new coach? Transition to a new. How do you do that and be
I,
successful?
yeah, and I think I obviously not understanding this until later on after I retired, coming back from retirement was like, you don't have to be so cookie cutter. Yes, be open minded to the coaching that is provided to you, but understand who you are as you. Mark Simon is not John Lackey. Mark Simon is not Devin Williams. So like you have to understand what works for you, how you receive and perceive things, and just being open minded, but also understanding. Don't let them just completely change you, cookie cut you, and completely take you off the path that made you successful as yourself.
Right. So
So
you have to be adaptable,
right,
basically,
exactly, man.
but still be
And
yourself. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I think like the problem today is, man, a lot of kids, because when I retired, I was coaching high school kids, just trying to get them to the next level. We'll worry about college when it gets there. Let's get to high school ball, all that stuff. Progress. Is a lot of the guys they're often listening to the way it was said, the tone of voice instead of actually what was said. And so that was kind of for me growing up in a Mexican household, being always disciplined. It was always that, like,
Hmm.
wherever you may be, just always understand what's being said rather
Said.
than how it's saying.
That's right.
So,
That's right. And
and
that's
I think that's
powerful, man. That's Mark.
you
That's
know
so powerful. You said, oof. You said. I mean, that was like a word from Revelation from God dropped it from heaven,
yeah.
because you said it so clearly. Because I coach, I deal with kids every day, and like I said, for the people just tuned in to our show, this is the YouGoin'Pro podcast. This is your very own host, Coach-Lowery and Mark Simeon, the journeyman of minor league baseball. And I'm saying that because a lot of kids now, they don't understand. They take things so personal, and it's not
Hmm.
personal. It's not
Hmm.
personal, and it's hard for a kid, a young boy or young girl, to adapt to a
Hmm.
coach like myself, because I'm I'm like semi-military, semi have fun, but not fun like playing around fun. Other
Passion is
words,
a good word.
correct. I'm extremely passionate, but we got to do it this way.
Right.
It ain't grandpa's way. It ain't your dad's way. It ain't your
Right.
mama's way. It's Coach Lowry's
Coach
way.
Lowry's way. Exactly.
Period. And so I said that to say this. There's an old saying that you can't build a house with sticks. You got to build it with bricks. In
Hmm.
order to build it with bricks, you got to have a foundation. In other words,
Hmm.
a lot of kids don't have a foundation, so they have all this talent, but it's not stirred in the right course.
Right.
It's like a boat. You're out in a boat, you don't know where you're going, but
Hmm.
you got to have a destination to go there. And that's something that I had to learn, that because I come from a very strict background. My father, he beat the snot out of you. Not saying that it's right or it's wrong, but
Out of love. It was always out of love, they
yes,
said.
yeah, and I do understand back. He had his moments, but
Right.
after I got older, as you just said, I learned. Well, wait a minute, it wasn't that bad after all. Because now these
Yeah.
kids, they don't. There's
They
no
have no
discipline.
idea.
Dia,
No
zero.
idea, brother.
To just do whatever. Have it your
Hmm.
way. It's not Burger King.
Hmm.
Have it your way. Let's go to Burger King. No, we're not going to Burger King.
Right.
So and I understand that, but now let's talk about the opportunity going from um, the Mexican league, and then you bounced around and you played at the Missoula Paddlehead. I don't
Yeah.
even
Yeah, man. Yeah.
talk
So
about that.
okay. So
Now
so there's a gap.
go ahead. You're a Mexican. You played
Yeah.
in New Mexico, Oklahoma City. Okay, okay, I can get those two.
Right.
And then you bounced and you played in the Mexican league, and then now we're talking Missoula, Montana.
It's a
How do
little
you
different, brother.
how do you deal with
It,
that?
it was a huge culture shock. I will say that. It's a lot less Latinos up here, a lot less Mexican restaurants. But I think the time from when I retired in 2018 to, coming back in 2021, it kind of gave me that appreciation and kind of, again, open-mindedness to accept people and just, be connected, always be interpersonal, connect with everybody. And this town of Missoula, I'm here now, I'm in Montana now, has my heart, man. We like everybody here has been great. The people of the town, the front office when I was here, the on-field antics and my teammates, man, they were just fabulous, bro. So it was kind of like it definitely felt like home, and they made me comfortable. They let me be Mark Simon, and when you let Mark Simon be like Mark Simon, man,
Hmm.
it's good. Good things happen, man, and so it was a blessing in disguise. And my manager that was here, he's still the manager, Michael Schley. Probably believed as me in me as much as I did in myself, bro. And when you believe in yourself and somebody
Right.
kind of matches that energy, it's a very unstoppable driving force.
Mm.
So I was able to check off all the boxes that I wanted that year, and we kind of, we won the championship as a team, and I ended up winning pitcher of the year. So it was kind of
Okay.
it worked
Yeah.
out.
So my question: who's over that team in Missoula, as far as MLB team? What team is?
So so when COVID happened, this league actually was a rookie league for a lot of teams, like the White Sox. The Missoula was with the Diamondbacks. We'll have the Dodgers, Rockies. Just a little, just in this area, it was all rookie ball. So when COVID happened and they did the cutoffs, Missoula was one of those teams.
Okay.
So
They still
I
have baseball. Mark. They still have baseball back in.
Yeah, man, they started a little later though, so like the season will be like May 10th or something, or I guess a lot later, end of May, just so the weather kind of is
Right.
tolerable enough to freaking play, bro. It gets
Yeah.
cold up here, ain't
Cool.
no joke.
Yeah. I know.
They, but yeah, man. So yeah, that was that, and yeah, yeah,
Okay. Missoula Paddleheads.
yeah. That's a moose. It's a moose. Yeah,
It's a
man.
moose. Okay. So then we talk about the Milwaukee Milkman. Explain that transition. How did that happen?
So I played here in 23, and then in 2024, I was looking for other opportunities, other leagues. I had some interest in Mexico. I felt like I had faith in myself to stay here in the States in the Independent Baseball League and kind of
Right.
do well and hopefully, shoot for a minor league contract or something like that. So,
Okay.
just kind of kept the faith in myself and, again, just uh, checking off boxes as the year went on. I, worked really hard this off season. So,
Hmm.
the year was really good. So just trying
Yeah.
to really, stay 10 toes down and stay course.
I mean, so something you said, basically what you said a lot, you basically you stayed being you, but you stayed engaged. You want to stay
Hmm.
engaged in everything that was going on because you made a transition. I mean, every situation for every player, coach, player, it's a transition, Just like you may lose your job, I can lose my job.
Hmm.
Everybody's replaceable. And
Right.
and one thing I want to say is you said something earlier in the show, you celebrate small wins. You
Hmm.
said celebrate small wins, and I'm thinking because that's part of my YouTube channel. I'm gonna talk about tonight, and it's
Cool.
funny that you said that. Because celebrating small wins, you got to be able to recognize when there's a celebration, because
Right.
people say that. Well, for example, let me give you an example because I played outfield, and so for example, I can go 0 for 4, okay, but I had one strikeout, two line drives, and a hard hit ball up the middle, and I just didn't beat it out. And
Right.
you think you had a bad day.
Hmm.
Well, you didn't really have a bad day. It's just they played you perfect and you hit the ball hard. It's just that it wasn't good enough to make it through. So
Right.
that's what I mean. Like you said, celebrate small wins. So when did you learn to start celebrating small wins? When did that take place?
When realizing baseball is extremely hard and not everybody is hitting 3,000 or pitching 0, 0, 0, So I think if you can just take it with a grain of salt, stop giving people the benefit of the doubt and just kind of attack. I think if you're
Mm,
as a pitcher, if you're on the offensive man, it just makes things so much easier. Just understanding it is hard. Okay, I missed my pitch, but what did it do? What did
right.
the guy do? Did he jump? Did he flinch? Did he make an adjustment? All right, well then now next pitch comes, and I
Mm.
just learned from what the last pitch just did.
Okay, so
So,
you tell us something else you didn't talk about, which athletes don't talk about a lot is how did you take care of yourself, Flores, food wise? Like, cause people eat McDonald's, Burger King. I mean, I understand when you're playing minor league baseball, you got to make the
right,
best of the situation, but there's a such thing of cooking. People don't like to
right,
cook. There's a such
right.
thing of cooking for yourself and also packing because like if you lift weights, you get your protein, you do all these other things. So how do you
Hmm.
prepare high school players make it, or college players how to prepare their bodies for health, eating properly? Because there's good fuel that goes in, the body does
Right,
great. So how do
right.
you prepare? How would you tell little Mark how to prepare, as far as food wise, your
Well,
health?
dude, little Mark was exactly that, just a twig, brother. He was just a tiny whip. So I mean, you could put so much in him, and he wouldn't get any thicker. So I think just understanding how your body feels on certain foods. It's just like anything else. You got to understand what works for you and what doesn't. If you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to fast, but you're feeling weak and not really, again, I understand the intention. Oh, I understand why you're doing it, but is it really benefiting you? Like, are you showing
Right,
up with a gray face or are we
right,
showing up with a full face?
right.
So just understanding, again, just kind of what works for you and what doesn't. I will
Mm-hmm.
say I'm a big Popeye's spicy chicken sandwich guy, man. I drink my sweet tea,
Mm-hmm.
so, not everybody's perfect,
Right.
but understanding you can't eat that every day.
Right, but but there's guys. I mean, I literally had to put up a big bulletin on my team like,
Yep.
don't bring no junk food in here.
Yep.
I mean, when I was young, like yourself, we both were young. I used to be able to eat anything, but
Hmm.
as you get older, you have to know your body. Okay,
Right.
all right, I can't eat this anymore because
Dude.
this is not going to work. And if I want to be
Right.
productive on the field,
Exactly.
with that being said, I mean, I just wanted to say that because I mean, I had to literally kick people off the team. Like, listen, go home for the day. Coach, what's the
Right.
problem? I said, wait a minute, you know the rules. What's the problem with coach? I said, you trying to go play college ball, right? You want me to help you, right? So if you want me to help you, you gotta listen to me. You're gonna do it
Hmm.
my way, not your way. He's like, coach, I ain't got no money. It's like, listen. If you spent $12 on that right there, You can spend $12 a different way. And
Right.
I'm not asking you to do it every day, but every time I see you, you got a McDonald's bag in your hand. And you talking about guys that want,
Dude.
and we're talking about guys that want to go play Division 1 baseball.
Right. Worst guys.
I'm
Worst
like,
guys
well,
to listen to.
how are you gonna get there? You got to be able to, listen to what I'm saying. With that said, that's something that I have learned. And one last thing, we got a few more minutes left for the show, but I want to talk about how do you stay focused? Like, for example, meditation. How do you meditate? Like you talked about meditation before again. You over prepare. So how do you
Hmm.
prepare a guy, Mark, that is at a JUCO getting ready to go 4 year? How do you prepare that transition? He has the talent, he has the
Hmm.
skills, but he doesn't have the it factor yet because it's a transition. He's going from one level to the next. How do you prepare? Do you think meditation is good? Do you think that don't over prepare? Because a lot of times people say, well, coach, I got to grind every day. Now, let me explain something to you, Mark. This is what I've learned.
Hmm.
Grinding every day doesn't mean working every day. So what I
Right.
said, your body is like a motor.
Hmm.
If you run it to the ground, eventually you're gonna
It'll break
crash it.
down.
That's right.
Yep.
But we don't talk about that. So when I say you got to grind every day, so for example, you can grind 6 days a week. That 7 day, I have to rest. I
Hmm.
have to get some rest because if you don't rest, I'm not saying forget baseball or forget what your passion is, but a lot of times is we take that personally, and then
Right.
when the season's over with, you're like, oh, you got hit by a Mack truck. You just got
Right.
ran over because you didn't really
Right.
take care of yourself throughout that process. So how do you prepare for a guy in college now if you had to prepare every day? Because like you said, in JUCO we didn't have the facilities. We don't have the
Right.
facilities in JUCO. And NAIA we didn't have the best either. It was okay. It was better than JUCO, but it's not like Division 1, Division 2. So how do you prepare yourself if you had to prepare an everyday guy knowing when to take a break? How do you do that?
I think for me, just kind of understanding it's okay to kind of disconnect from what you're, basically killing yourself for. I mean, that's kind of the realest way to kind of put it. You
Yeah.
know, again, we're grinding every day, yes, but you can, for me, I can go out into a hike and completely disconnect from the world and just feel small in a mountain, and I'm having intent as far as forgetting about the guy I walked yesterday with 3-2 count after being 0-2, or blowing a lead or something like that. Just
Mm-hmm.
understanding like your health, your mental health is important, and if you're not there locked in mentally, then physically it's just going to be almost impossible for them to just match up.
Hmm.
So as long as I think you have uh, an outlet outside of baseball to really kind of center yourself and bring you back to, back to earth. I think whatever it may be, as long as it's, as long as you enjoy it, I should say. And you brought up a good point. Like if you work 6 days a week, it even says, even the Lord fucking rested on the seventh day. Sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah,
to
you
cuss,
got it right.
but
Yeah,
I
you
am
got yeah,
passionate. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, you got to rest one day a week. You
Yeah,
have to. You
man.
have to. I mean, but the key is people think, well, babe, coach, I'm resting. I got to keep grinding. It's like, well,
Hmm.
that's like lifting weights. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
Like it's like lifting weights. Like I lift
yeah.
weights every other day. I do each different body part. 2 days, one day, 2 days, but I'm rotating. But I
Hmm.
do rest one day. I
Right.
rest one day, and now rest means that doesn't mean I'm sitting on the couch doing nothing. That's not what I'm talking about. Rest. I'm talking about
Right.
my body is still doing things. I'm just not in the gym. I'm
Right.
not lifting weights. So that's
Hmm.
something that I've got about 7 more minutes left, but I want to bring something up to you about how do you make that transition from college to the everyday life? How do you make that transition?
Dude,
That
it's tough. And like I said at the beginning, man, if this is something you want to do, please make sure you're doing it with the full intent every day, because now you're turning, you know, half your day as far as schoolwork and baseball. Now you're turning it to how do you eat. If you don't perform well, you're not going to have a paycheck to eat. So it's not so much added pressure, but there is more, like I said, intent. Have some more intent on things. Understand, like, if you do this, good things happen. If you do this, maybe not in your best interest, you know? So it just, I think that was kind of maybe the toughest challenge is understanding like, you know, if you're going to show up today, please make, you know, leave your problems at the door. Make sure you're coming in for your job. Make sure you're coming in for the other 25, 26 guys next to you, and
Mm-hmm.
make sure they're also on the same page, because what they do could also affect your job. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think that that's the most important part, is just making sure if it's something you want to do, immerse yourself, be obsessed with it, and good things really do come from
Right.
just
You
that.
said it so good because I was like, okay, let's see what you said. I think okay, the problem is coming from me myself when I played college baseball, and then I had the opportunity to play. Back then it was called semi-pro, and I
Hmm.
was a independent ball got cut. And I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm always honest, transparent. It was very hard for me,
Hmm.
extremely hard for me, because I
Yeah.
didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to the real life. I didn't want to deal with that. But see, as
Hmm.
an athlete, we have like this block. It's like it stops here. We think, well, it's gonna
Hmm.
be here all the time, and we're not gonna be able to play all year. I mean, we're not gonna play all the time.
Right.
Not at that high level. We could probably play, but not at that high level. And then we had to figure out what can we do different. And one of the
Right.
things it took for me, Mark, was I had to really hit a road and just say I just had to hit a road hard and say, man,
Hmm.
I can't. I stopped looking at baseball. I mean, literally stopped looking at baseball. I
Yeah.
didn't want to talk about it. Didn't want to say nothing about it because I was kind of devastated, like a shock. Like, wait a minute.
Like a bad breakup, man.
Yeah, like yeah, it's like
Babe.
it's worse than a divorce. It was worse than a divorce because I was like, the problem was I didn't know what to do. I was lost.
Right.
So I think for guys that are making that transition from either high school to college or college to pro and pro to real life or regular life is you have to have other skills because
Hmm.
baseball is a mental game, but it teaches you life skills. Baseball
For
teaches you
sure.
life skill because you're going
For
to
sure.
fail. And you
Hmm.
think you're going to if you think you're going to win every day. I mean, yeah, we can win spiritually, but physically we're not going to win.
You are
And
delusional. Right.
yeah, it's an illusion. And also I've learned as I get older, each day is an opportunity.
Hmm.
That's how I look at it. Because back when I was younger, I used to say, "You either you win or you lose." Now I'm older. I say, either we win or we have lessons.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
now I don't lose because now I understand the game. I understand how to
Hmm.
play the game. And
Hmm.
so if you got the right coach, if you're taking the instructions from the coach, and he's never lost a game in his life. I'm using a metaphor, but if my Lord Jesus Christ has never lost a game, and he makes the plan for the whole universe, and he's telling me, "Hey, coach," he calls me coach because right now he's trying to get my attention. But then
Right.
when he says, Seville, I'm talking to you. Don't go that way. And I
You
said
better
that to say
listen.
exactly. That's
Better
the point
listen.
of that's the point I'm trying to make is
Yep.
when you're understanding how life is. You always win. It's just how do you look at the defeat? Because
Right.
if you can get up tomorrow, you can win. Okay, yeah, it's like a strikeout, or you didn't or you lost a game winning hit. It was a walk
Yep.
off. They
Yep.
brought you in the game, Mark, the pitch, the last hitter,
Full faith in the world.
full faith. But all of a sudden, somebody's gonna come out at the short end of the stick. That's
Oh yeah.
life.
Oh
Somebody's coming
yeah.
out. So it's great when the hitter does it,
Hmm.
but when a pitcher does, it's great for him. So that's how life is. Life is
Yep.
like it's like a sport. How
Hmm.
how do you look at it? And I think you got to have the right coach. I mean, Lord Jesus, I personally believe the Lord Jesus need to be your coach,
Right.
and you can try all the coaches you want. I'm sharing this on the air. You can try every coach you want, and I'm not trying to. Um, I'm just wanted to. I want everyone to understand that this is a game. Life is a
Right.
game, but how do you
Right.
play the game? How do you play the game?
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sharing that with you because I'm like at the end of the day, I'm telling you, Mark. Seriously, Mark. Mark. I'm telling you, Mark. Coach Laurie was not Coach Laurie he is today.
I
Listen,
hear you, man.
but I had to learn. I had to learn. I'm
Right.
like, man, I was trying to do things my way,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, life hits you, and when life hits you,
You gotta figure it out.
and you're by
And that's,
yourself,
yep. Yep.
and you're like, I call mom. You can, my mom's doing her thing and dad's doing his, and you
Right.
think you're like, wait a minute,
And
hold
then
on.
you're a nuisance. Then you're a burden. And then you're like, all right, well, I gotta.
Yeah,
Ain't nobody gonna come pick me up.
yeah, and you grown now, so you
Right.
should say, okay, it's time to,
Yep.
okay, it's time to figure this stuff out, and sometimes it takes time, but
Hmm.
I believe if you got the right coach, if you got the right coach and you're listening, one
Hmm.
of the things I talk about in my show, I always talk about the three things. It's called the lead effect. L stands for listen.
Hmm.
E stands for execute, and the D stands for dominate. So
Yeah.
on my show, I talk about the lead. Everything I end my show with the lead. You want to say anything to the listeners before we go? I mean, this has been a blast. I mean,
I
we've
appreciate you. I
had a
appreciate you,
blast.
man.
Anything
Thank
you
you.
want to share with the listeners and the young people, the young marks coming up, the players are coming up? How any remarks or words you want, encouraging words you want to leave out before we close the show out?
Uh,
We talked
yeah,
about so
yeah, yeah,
much.
yeah. I think some basic ones would probably be don't be afraid to say yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Don't be too prideful to say thank you or ask for help. I think again, I think being able to have intent and have one focus in your day, even if it's just breathing or if it's just watching somebody else, helping somebody. I think the more we can help each other as a whole community, as a collective team unit, man, it's going to be hard to stop. And so I
Yeah,
think, just don't be afraid to communicate. Don't be afraid to have a conversation. Um, and yeah, man, just be, I mean, that's basically it. I think do the work, do the work. If like I said, trust me, do the work. It's nicer when it blooms. In the midst of it, it sucks, but I
yes.
swear and I promise you, at the end, it's worth it. And
Mm.
the feeling you get that overtakes your body. Just it's very spiritual and very emotional. So.
Well, I'm going to end it with this. I'm going to say a few things. You said so much. Wow, Mark. Basically, it's like planting a seed. There's such thing as seed time and harvest
Hmm.
time. And
Hmm.
you don't get an apple immediately. You got to plant the seed and
Yep.
let nature take its course. So your job is to make sure you fertilize and do the things right so it can grow. It's
Right.
a seed time and harvest time. And with that, being said, for all listeners, this is Coach Lowery, very own Coach Lowery. I call it the world's number one podcast. We help athletes develop proficiency in assisting for the game they love. And with that, I had a very special guest, his very own Mark Simon, the journeyman of baseball. Let's put it
Appreciate
that
that,
way,
man.
of
Thank you.
baseball. And one thing I want to make sure, I hope everyone got something very good out of today's show. And the good book says that all that I get an understanding. But with it, I'm gonna go out what I say all the time. This the lead effect, and I want everyone to hear this and listen to this. The first thing you must do, and everything you do, you must listen. If you don't listen, that's what God gave us ears, and we don't use our ears very much because we always want to say, we always got to talk. Well, it's a reason why we have two ears and not in one mouth. And I said,
Hmm.
lead, listen. That's the first thing. The next thing is execute. So once you learn something by hearing it and listening, you can execute what you just learned. And
Hmm.
once you execute it, you can dominate. That's
Right.
something that God wants us all to do, to dominate. But in order to dominate, you got to listen to it.
Got.
You got to listen and get it in your head, because once it's in your
Right.
head, you go execute it, and then you dominate. This is your host, the very own Coach Laurie. I appreciate it, Mark. Hey, it was a
No, thank
pleasure
you.
having you, man.
Appreciate you. Seriously.
Hey, hey, thank you very much, man. You have been great. I appreciate it. Hey, I'm signing
Appreciate
off.
that.
Hey, everybody that's listening to this on the podcast, hey, check me out on YouTube as well. I'm at the YouTube YouGoin'Pro, and it's every Tuesday night at 8:30. Looking forward to hearing from you
Sweet.
guys. Take care. Download this. I'm signing out. Bye bye.
Hell yeah, man.